Everyone, welcome back to the Awesome Sunday Show. Pat here.
And Connor speaking as usual.
This is actually our second episode of the week. We released a Flash multi-episode review last week. We're recording this day of the Oscars. We're going to be doing an Oscar podcast with previous guest Matt Hoffman on that, so expect that this week.
He's a couch review guest and an Awesome Sunday Show guest. We're happy to have him back. Matt, if you're listening, you're always welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about the two Daredevil trailers. Well, the two major ones. There was a couple 15-second character ones, but
we're not going to review trailers for trailers.
Yeah, we're not going to review trailers for trailers. Those are technically different, but there was two Daredevil trailers. And Connor, what were your first impressions?
I mean, it was all right. What I'm about to say, it's usually it comes as a negative, but I mean this in the most positive way possible. It's what I expected. But I expect greatness from that show. So when I see a great trailer, I expect a great trailer. As when I get it's what makes me really happy about what's coming forward in season 2.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely has those expectations, and
it met all my expectations.
Yeah.
which is not like that's what I mean by that.
Yeah, you're not saying it in a negative way. You had high expectations, and they were met.
Right.
Which is a great thing. You know, it's better that they didn't disappoint. So the two trailers, one was more Punisher heavy, and the second one was more Elektra heavy.
Yeah, I mean one trailer was showing Punisher and the other one was showing Elektra.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
Daredevil really wasn't the main character in either trailer.
No, he was pretty minor, but that's for good reason. Because Punisher and Elektra particularly are two huge characters throughout Daredevil's history. And they're definitely going to have major roles this coming season.
Yeah. The way they split it up though, so I kind of have two ways I feel like this can go. That Punisher and Elektra are going to be throughout the season, through the episodes, or is the first half of the season going to be Punisher centric, and then the second half of the season be Elektra more. She's going to be more involved.
Yeah, it could go either way. And both ways would work fine. It might be easier to do half a season on each.
Yeah.
It's 13 episodes, so 6 or 7 on one character and then the other, just because they play huge roles and are very different and are important for different reasons. But I feel like regardless of which way they do it, they're going to have a big part in the finale.
Yes.
They're going to be either with Matt or against Matt in the finale, and I could see Punisher more so taking Matt's side in whatever the event that happens is.
Yeah. Well, in the comics, they're kind of I wouldn't call them friends, but
they're not friends. They just have a mutual understanding, more or less.
But one's willing to go farther than the other.
Yeah, that's what it is. Punisher is accepting of Matt's, he doesn't want to kill. That's his policy. He'll beat the fuck out of anybody.
Yeah, he'll break all your limbs.
But he won't kill you. But Punisher has no problem shooting you in the face.
Yeah.
And they both understand that they can't change each other's positions on it.
Right.
They're both going for the same goal, which is to, rid crime, basically, but doing it through different means. And that's why
one's a little more extreme than the other.
Yes. The Punisher is very well deserving of his name. And the Punisher this season is going to be played by Jon Bernthal.
Yeah. Do you think he'll do better than Dolph Lundgren?
I mean, it's Dolph Lundgren. Who knows?
Yeah.
No, I'm really, really excited for Jon Bernthal. I think that was a great casting choice.
Yeah.
Marvel always makes great casting
That's
choices, but I think that this one in particular.
As much as I love Marvel Studios and what they're doing, again, not everything's perfect. But no movie production company ever has anything done perfectly. When it comes to their movies, but one thing I can say that they have been consistently excellent at is casting, and
Absolutely.
They do so good at it, and they killed it again. It's never a questionable choice.
Right.
The thing with DC is they kind of do gambles. They'll pick an actor that you're I don't know if that person will be good, and they're either really good or they don't fit the role at all.
Or they fit the role in the movie's garbage.
Yeah, exactly. And with Marvel, you always see it, and you're that's a great choice for casting.
Yeah, even in the instance of Rhodey, Iron Man, Tony Stark's best friend, who was in Iron Man 1 played by Terrence Howard, and then in Iron Man 2 to now has been played by
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle. It wasn't because of poor casting. It was because Terrence Howard was an asshole behind the scenes and was becoming a diva.
Yeah,
and
he was hard to work with, supposedly. I don't know. Like, there's both. There's this. The truth always lies somewhere in the middle. There's both sides to the story.
He's been known to be, a dick behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But the problem with him and Iron Man, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but he felt he was the main character, not Robert Downey Jr. And he wanted to be paid as if he was Robert Downey Jr. He wanted to be paid as if he was Tony Stark.
Yeah, and Marvel's like, ha, ha.
Yeah.
Because
No.
Marvel's known for not really paying their actors that much.
They're very stingy. Robert Downey Jr. just got lucky.
Well,
with
because
that deal he got.
he's the one that he pretty much
Well,
carried.
his initial deal, though,
Yeah.
he got lucky with. But then they couldn't renege on his deal after that because then he would have left.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But yeah, for the first Avengers film, most of the main cast got under $1 million. But I mean, they've made more since then, but nobody makes Robert Downey Jr. money.
Nobody
in that
makes that.
franchise.
Yeah, Joss Whedon doesn't even make Downey money.
Yeah. But
Like Chris Evans gets paid more now.
yeah, now they're all getting millions, if not, double-digit millions. But up until the first Avengers, they weren't making that.
No, yeah.
Even in their solo films. But getting back to the casting thing, that's why Terrence Howard wasn't in the second Iron Man or beyond. And it's not because he was bad in Iron Man 1. He was fine. Like, he was still good. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that Don Cheadle replaced him. I like Don Cheadle much better.
Right. Don Cheadle, like, it's weird. All right. He plays a good James Rhodes.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. The only thing, again, and this isn't a complaint, the only thing is Terrence Howard looks more of the part.
Yeah, but
Every time, like when I see Rhodey in the comics, or like what is a War Machine comic, an Iron Man comic, Avengers, any type of team mashup, he's built. He's a very built individual. And Terrence Howard, he might not be a built big guy. He's a little more tall and stocky, whereas Don Cheadle's kind of is a tiny guy. He's not.
Yeah, he's pretty tiny actually. He's short and thin.
Yeah. Whereas
But,
you have Robert Downey Jr., who literally looks just like Tony Stark.
That's because he is Tony Stark.
He is Tony
He's
Stark.
been Tony
just like Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool.
Exactly. Tony Stark was written in the future imagination of what Robert Downey Jr. was going to
Exactly.
look like. Before they even knew they were going to be a Robert Downey Jr.
And I just feel like, even though this is no knock with Don Cheadle, I think Don Cheadle is a phenomenal actor. His part in Boogie Nights is like one of my favorite characters in a movie. But like, it's, again, he does a great job. It's just, and like this, and I know I just complimented Marvel on their casting, and this isn't a knock against their casting, because it's still a great choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's not how I picture him.
Okay, but would you rather like a more accurate look or a better performance of the character?
Better performance.
There you
So
go.
that's why
It's a trade-off.
Again, that's the trade-off, and that's why it's not a knock against Marvel's casting. I still feel how I feel about their casting is no matter what, even with Don Cheadle, it's because they made the right choice as far as getting the better actor.
Yeah, and like in John Bernthal's case, Frank Castle, the Punisher, is pretty big. Like he's broad-shouldered, kind of tall. John Bernthal's like not short, but he's probably like 6'3" or something. 6'2",
That's
whatever.
pretty tall.
Or he's at least 6 feet, if not a little bit taller. But he doesn't have like the broad shoulders. He's not like fully ripped.
Yeah, and also, and granted too, most people aren't built like comic
Yeah.
book characters.
Yeah, I mean that goes without saying. But he's still pretty like sturdy, solid dude.
Yeah.
And he definitely has the personality. In the 2.5 minutes that we've seen him in a trailer, you can tell he has the character down.
Yep.
He fits that personality so well, and
He's a good actor.
he's a very good actor. He was one of the best parts of The Walking Dead for when I watched
Yeah,
it.
he was my favorite character on The Walking Dead. I love to hate him.
Yeah, and he was great in Sicario. Not that he was in it that long, but still, he was in it
Yeah, I actually just
for
recently watched that, and I
yeah
was like, oh my gosh.
for the length he was in. He was great. The same thing goes with Wolf of Wall Street. Granted, they're much different characters, but he's a it just shows he's a great actor
Yeah,
with range.
he does. He does it. I'm surprised at how much he is actually capable of, because just by his looks, and again, you should never judge a book by its cover. He looks like an action movie star.
Yeah,
But in all honesty, he's never really done that much. He doesn't. He did that movie with The Rock, but like I never saw
Yeah.
it because I don't care. So I don't know how much if if he does a lot of like action scenes in that movie. Um, but it's just yeah, he's not. He is more of a serious actor.
yeah, and he's gonna get a lot of action in this. But
Yeah, this is gonna be really his first like performance where I'm like, oh, there's a lot of action. Like this
Yeah.
is
yeah, and like I'm glad they cast him, and I'm so excited for him to be this character. And behind the scenes, Marvel Studios, all the execs, even Netflix executives, are just like over the moon with his performance. Everybody's saying it's outstanding, like it's perfect choice, and he's just doing incredibly well, which kept sparking rumors of a solo Punisher series, which I would love.
yeah.
I would absolutely love.
Yeah,
And
that's the thing. I feel like Punisher like had way too many misses on the big screen. Even though I do like the Christopher Lambert version,
it's a bad movie.
but it's a good kind of bad. Like there's and what I mean by that, it's not so bad it's good. It's bad, but there's things that are enjoyable in it. Like I think Christopher Lambert plays a good Punisher, but John Travolta is one of the worst villains I've ever seen. Ever.
Yes.
Like it's just like there's certain things that do kill the movie. But yeah, I feel like Punisher it just has never been successful on the big screen. I think a small screen adaptation is just like the saving grace that character needs.
And although last week it was either a Marvel TV exec or a Netflix exec, once and for all, like shot down the rumors that there's going to be a Punisher series. But he never said there never would be. He just said for now there's no plans.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that after Defenders we couldn't get one. Especially with once this is released and the reaction to him, aside from just the season, it's very likely we can get one after the Defenders.
Yeah.
Which that's probably gonna say maybe late 2017, early 2018 is probably the prediction of when it's going to come out. So then anytime after that, we could see a Punisher series. And he could also probably won't appear in Luke Cage because they're already through with that or still filming or whatever. But he could appear in Jessica Jones season 2. He could even be in the Defenders. I could see him being in the Defenders, just as easily that I can see him getting his own series. It'll probably be, it's more likely he'll be in the Defenders than he'll get a series, which I'll still be happy with.
Mm-hmm.
And then rumor is the Defenders are going to cross over into the Avengers Infinity War. So we could...
Dude, Infinity War, like, I don't think people realize how friggin' insane.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah. It's going to be the biggest movie
there are
in
67 Marvel heroes in it. Or a combination of 67 majority, they're not all major characters, but they're big. All right, 67 big names, let's say.
Yeah,
between the two movies.
Right.
Heroes, villains, side characters alike.
Like Spider-Man's going to be in it. That alone is pretty baller. And the fact that like the rumors that like the Marvel the Netflix Marvel superheroes are going to be
potentially Agents of Shield heroes.
Yeah.
Like they're going to need to include them to fit those 67 characters. Granted, they're going to be introducing more characters in Civil War and then all the movies leading up to it, and then bringing in the Guardians of the Galaxy crew.
Dude,
that's still a fuck ton of characters.
The Russos are
like insane. They are.
I don't know how they go to bed without having an anxiety attack.
I don't know, man. They seem so like calm about everything. Like,
right?
Their interviews,
dude. But that's the thing.
Like they've been doing are like smooth, just like smooth. They're just like chilled back, relax.
it seems like they really do know what they're doing. And like Winter Soldier is still the best Marvel movie. And,
Definitely,
and like
it's an excellent movie.
without a doubt, it's one of those movies.
And
like
Civil War is testing through the roof right now.
yeah, James Gunn said it was the
best one.
It's the best one, and I mean, like it's getting the like when it comes to like Batman versus Superman, it's the opposite. People are saying it's not good. Like like the rumor is in the studio, it's not a very good movie. It's always It's always super positive when like the people that are not directly involved in the movie but are able to get access to the movie are saying like, whoa, like this is really good.
Yeah,
always great news.
And
like,
I really trust James Gunn because he doesn't hold back about things. Like he's willing to criticize people or to make comments against it. It's not like he's not saying it because he's a part of Marvel. He doesn't have to say anything at all.
But he's also not like not like a little girl about it like Max Landis.
Yeah. Fuck Max Landis. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, the Russo brothers are poised to be, better than Joss Whedon is to Marvel, I think.
I don't know if I want to say better, but definitely a major asset. Because if you really think about it, Joss Whedon had like a huge responsibility on his shoulders and Avengers 2 is not that bad. It's still a really good movie. There's just certain things in it that hold it back from being better than Avengers 1.
Right. But I think that since it's a 2-part Avengers movie, and given the importance of Civil War and how it's going to really change the Marvel Universe up until both Avengers movies, they have a lot of pressure too. Granted, Joss Whedon, the pressure for Joss Whedon for Avengers 1 is on. I can't even imagine how much pressure that was. And then for 2, it made him quit Marvel. Like,
yeah.
So obviously there's a lot of pressure, but
the Russo brothers might not have that same pressure, because of some of the bad publicity. I mean, Jon Favreau, Joss Whedon, like that quickly got out of like how they felt. Again,
True.
Maybe or maybe not, but but then hearing just the positive feedback from that end of Marvel, and then hearing the positive feedback, like it just reminds me of the positive feedback that we're getting from Daredevil, and it's just like, again, this is not a negative comment, but it's just like, dude, this is what I'm expecting, and it's totally meeting that, which is fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
I mean,
that's like when I hear about these backstories when it comes to the performances, whether it's from the movie studio side or the Netflix / ABC television side of it. It comes back to Daredevil, which literally has been growing on probably one of my favorite TV show, and it's like, there we go, this is it. Like I'm excited for it. I normally, and you know me, I don't like doing predictions because I like to be surprised and I like being wrong,
right?
And but also be like, wow, I was wrong, but that was better than I could think of. But like I can't help myself but predict what's going to happen because I am really excited for it.
Yeah, like there's no doubt in my mind that this season of Daredevil is going to be incredible. Between Daredevil season 1 and Jessica Jones season 1, Marvel's Netflix game is killing it.
Yeah, their Netflix, like it's so funny, like how they just do these gambles but somehow win. Like Marvel, when it comes to like their media entertainment, like movies and TV shows, and like not so much as their cartoon movies. DC's got that locked down really well, but like when it comes to their television shows and their movies, they're like the guy at the roulette table that just keeps betting on one number and just somehow gets it. Or even like with their less successful movies, it's like if they bet on All Black and they still won. It's such a. I really want to know, like, hopefully like one day, like they release a documentary or a book of like giving the whole story of just like all this like continued and like. Oh, I don't want to say lucky, but because there's so much effort put into it, it's not luck, but it kind of is too. Ever since, because Iron Man 1 was literally just another roll of the dice. Let's see how this goes, and I just hope like a story like that. There's got to be something behind the scenes that's just incredible that has to be out one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And movie wise, it all starts with Kevin Feige. The TV currently or now operates separately. I forget who the head of Marvel TV is, but they're doing a great job. I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. started off rocky. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but also, too, that their first series.
Yeah, that was their first TV series, and they had a lot to live up to given what the Marvel Cinematic Universe was, and that they had to include connections to that. But the second half of that season to now, they really they got their shit together
That's
and
what
they're
everyone
doing
keeps
great.
telling me.
That's why you need to give it another
Yeah,
chance.
I gotta give it another shot. I stopped watching it because honestly, like the first 3 or 4 episodes, I was like, dude, this show's not good.
Yeah, it's because they couldn't, they had a lot on their shoulders. They had to connect it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And spoilers if you didn't know this, but they had to bring back a character that they straight up stabbed through the chest in the Avengers.
Yeah.
With Phil Coulson. And then make it, they had to expand the universe, and they wanted to include smaller characters that we won't see in the movies who are, you might be familiar with regardless. But from the second half of that season to now, and including Agent Carter and then the Netflix series, they've really brought their TV game up to a tremendous level.
Yeah, it's insane. They struck how's the expression go? They caught lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah, caught lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, and they really did. But I almost want to say that their television success was much more. It came much faster than their movie success, because even though the movie success started with Iron Man and Iron Man was great, the movies after Iron Man for Phase 1 actually were all kind of the weakest ones in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, they were. And that's not even that bad. I mean, particularly Iron Man 2 and Thor.
Yeah.
Where Captain America, clear, it's nothing it's no Winter Soldier, but it's not bad, but it's still weaker than Iron Man 1.
It's a harmless movie. They're all pretty harmless movies actually when you think about it. It really isn't until Phase 2 is when they really step up their game, and I feel like that almost is a perfect explanation how to explain their TV game too, because Agents of Shield, I mean, again, I was like this, I feel like they dropped the ball here, and then I turn away, and then I look back around for a second, and it's like they're stronger than ever.
Yeah, and critically they're doing just as well as Daredevil is now and Jessica Jones have done.
Critically, they're doing better television-wise than they are movie-wise, and movie-wise, their critical success is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. I just lost my train of thought. And even Agent Carter, I keep wanting to say Agents of Carter because of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but Agent Carter, which doesn't get the amount of viewers that S.H.I.E.L.D. normally does, it's very well done, and it's well received critically. And I do enjoy it. It's not likely to get picked up for another season, but regardless, it's still another successful TV show they've done. And Daredevil, is just going to expand on that and just make it even better. And, it's now Marvel's, posing a real threat to DC's television.
Yeah.
DC had Arrow for 2 years before a year or two or before Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think it was a year before Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, and their first and second season, were really, really fucking good, and then which led to the Flash, and the Flash came out, not no pun intended, but came out, hit the ground running.
Yeah, the Flash is probably DC's most successful TV show right now.
Yeah, and so it was those two against S.H.I.E.L.D. Then they did Agent Carter, which is only a mid-season replacement, because the first season only had 8 episodes. This season has 10. So then they still had to fight against 2 shows, and then DC introduced Gotham, which is not good, but it's bigger competition.
Mixed. There's people who love it. There are some diehard Gotham fans. And
I personally don't like it.
I don't like it either. I really don't, but the people that defend it do have really good points of why they like the show. And I'm not going to sit here and say that there isn't any strong points of the show. The performances in the show are very good.
Yeah.
It's the story itself feels rushed and shoved, and here's this villain.
It was a good idea. I just think it's poorly done.
Right, yeah. But, everyone's telling me now that,
there are some really good actors on it.
Yeah, everyone's telling me now that, that does follow the show, people I work with, hey, they're done introducing characters, a million of them. Now that just comes down to establishment. But my problem with that is now you're bringing in characters, but for the time that you were going to bring them in, now it's going to take the time to establish.
Yeah.
So again, I'm criticizing something I have not continually watched. It just really comes from down to first impressions, and first impression for a TV show is not just the first episode. You kind of have to dive in to really
Yeah.
get it. That's any TV show, but yeah, again, I'm on that boat with you, and really it comes down to the Flash being the number one successful TV show for DC, whereas Marvel, everything they've done has been so far excellent.
Once they introduced fucking Daredevil, it honestly put them ahead of DC in
Yep.
television. Even with as great as the Flash is, Arrow declined in season 3. Granted, they had some of their best episodes of the series in there, but overall it declined.
Well, aren't you? I know you're keeping up on Arrow in season 4. Isn't season 4 been disappointing?
It's better than season 3, but it's still very up and down, and the past few episodes have just been shit.
And again, as much as I love the Flash, that's probably again one of my. I like Daredevil more, and Flash is probably one of my top favorite TV shows as of right now. But there is still some things that hold it back from me being it's almost perfect.
Yeah.
It's just there are certain elements that do fall flat. There are some characters that blow in that show, unfortunately, and like that's the only reason why Daredevil to me is the better show, is because there isn't a single character I can think of Daredevil so far that I'm like that person was useless.
Mm-hmm.
Every character, even the priest in the beginning, I mean, you're like, oh, he's just the priest to give him moral support. When he gives that speech, if he like, do you believe in the devil? I was like, that's it. Like, this is exactly what he was here for, and he did an impeccable job. And this is exactly what Matt Murdock needed. Like again, like we complain about Jay Garrick in The Flash, and our number one complaint is how useless he is.
Yeah.
As like he's not again, there's things he does that seem important, but it could have been easily written differently. And like he's just
Absolutely.
there for like just the
And the problem is, like, now with their latest reveal, it seems like they were saving, the best things they could do with him for the back half of the season, which I understand, but still, for the first 15 episodes, he was
he just stood there.
95% of the time he was useless.
Yeah, and even when he got his powers back, he was napping.
Yeah.
Like but that's the thing though with when it comes with Daredevil is it's funny, like I find sometimes they use dark and gritty not as an asset to help the story, but just as an appeal factor.
Mm-hmm.
But like this dark and gritty Daredevil, like makes the story so much juicier because
Definitely.
that's the setting of Daredevil. And like meanwhile, like that was the problem with the Ben Affleck movie. It was dark and gritty just to be dark and gritty, just
Right,
to
it didn't
appeal
really
to a
serve
certain
a
crowd.
purpose.
Just like, hey, like we're a mature comic book movie.
Yeah.
Whereas no, this really helps serve the story. Helps serve the story.
Yeah. And then, once DC gained a little bit of ground, barely before Marvel, with a female hero-led show. Although Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the other main character besides Coulson is Skye, a.k.a. Daisy Johnson, who's quick. She is just as big as a lead in the show as Coulson is.
Yeah.
But then DC introduced Supergirl, which started off really rocky. It's getting better. It's still not great. But then Marvel released Jessica Jones, and that got instant high praise.
Yeah.
And that series is great.
There's people, and again, like Jessica Jones is a phenomenal TV show. I like Daredevil more, but I think I might be in the minority in that factor. I think there's more people that may find Jessica Jones better, because I remember people were freaking out more about Jessica Jones on Twitter and like social media than they were on Daredevil. Again, though, Jessica Jones is a much newer character when it comes to acting in television and movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, that
Daredevil's been around.
I think one of the
more.
reasons that Jessica Jones might get more praise is because of the topics that they dealt with through her character.
Right.
While obviously Daredevil dealt with some shit, Jessica Jones was more fucked up than Daredevil was.
It was. I agree. And also too, like there is, it's scarier. It is a much scarier show when you really come down to it, because it comes down to a really conniving and controlling man, like preying on a woman.
Yeah, it has abused her and controlled her.
Yeah, made her do terrible things, and it's just like that's really scary.
Yeah, it's scary. And if you've seen Room, the movie Room with Brie Larson, she was kept captive by a man, and that there's a lot of movies about that. And then not saying that men don't suffer sexual assault or anything, but
They do.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. But you hear more about men doing that to women.
Because it is more frequent
It's
that
more
way.
frequent.
Yeah.
And, it's a terrible thing, and they dealt with that with her really well, which is why I think it gained probably more. I don't really want to say more notoriety, but that's why it was talked about more.
Right.
Not, and that's not dissing Jessica Jones. The whole series, regardless, is great. And, Kilgrave was one of the best villains in
When he gets
Marvel.
that's one of the best villain
any Marvel
introductions.
Marvel incarnation.
One of the best villain introductions I've ever seen in any type of movie or TV show is him coming into that random apartment with that family and just telling children are meant to be seen, not heard, but he then just tells them to go in the closet.
Yeah.
And you actually see it, and she's got to go to the bathroom, and he goes, hold it in.
Mm-hmm.
But they just don't fight with him back. And dude, I mean, like, not to sound gross, but this shot where you see the urine coming from under the closet, like, just kind of solidified of like how disgusting of a person he actually really is, to where
Things
like
he made people do was terrible.
Yeah.
And, like, really, really heavy. And honestly, like, I had to take a break a couple of times because they were.
No, I did too. You're like,
was
holy
like-
crap, this is insane.
And talk about great casting. David Tennant was brilliant.
I cannot think of anybody else that could have done that better.
Honestly, brilliant. One of the best villain performances in all of the MCU.
Yeah.
Like, it's him and Tom Hiddleston, neck and neck.
And like, just to bring it back to Daredevil, like everything, I know like it seems like we're going off topic, but like where I really find where all this relates to is Marvel does keep getting better and better, and it just doesn't seem to be stopping right now.
It's all connected. You
Yeah.
can't have. They may, owe the success of their TV universe to their movie universe, but the TV, they're the same universe, but the TV side can be just as successful without the movies
Yeah.
as, on their own because of how good they are. And,
And that's why I think Daredevil season 2, I don't mean to jinx anything, but like I really don't feel like I am, but like I feel like season 2 is gonna step it up more.
I literally have no doubt in my mind that Daredevil season 2 is going to be amazing and better than season 1, which is going to be hard to do because of how great season 1 was.
Yeah, season 1 was awesome. There wasn't a bad episode.
But what they're planning, what they have in it is just, not only are they introducing two huge, Marvel characters in general, but two huge Daredevil characters in Punisher and Elektra, they're also introducing and expanding on the Hand, which Nobu, who was like the ninja that Daredevil fought.
Yes.
He had those crazy like nunchuck blades, and he set him on fire.
Yeah.
He's part of this organization called the Hand, which you hear Stick mention in the second trailer, and they're basically an ancient ninja organization that practices mysticism, and their goal is to resurrect and serve this demon called the Beast, not Beast, like from X-Men, but the Beast,
Just the Beast.
who is a straight up demon. That's literally what he is.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're going to introduce that mysticism in this,
Which I'm excited for.
Which,
and
they're doing ahead of the most mystical character that they have planned so far, which is Doctor Strange.
right.
So
So how's that gonna?
It's a really interesting choice that they're doing, and
It's definitely calculated.
it's calculated. And you know what? I have full faith in them to do it. I would have expected them to do something like that after Doctor Strange, but if they could pull it off now, they may not go full, right into the mysticism of it, but the Hand is very much into that sort of thing. And like in the second teaser trailer, he's fighting this one ninja who seems like they're teasing to be Nobu from season 1, even though he seemingly died, but the Hand practices resurrection, so he could be revived.
Yeah.
And if like you even hear Elektra say, the Yakuza, who is like basically the Japanese mafia, are back in huge numbers.
Yakuza are real.
The Yakuza
the
are
Hand
real.
isn't real.
Yes.
For people who just might not know.
Yeah. So I think that Nobu, while yes, he worked for the Hand, he was also very heavily involved in the Yakuza in season 1. So that's two massive, terrible organizations that he's going to have to deal with. And granted, he's going to have...
That's like if like the Ku Klux Klan and the Nazis like banded together.
Yeah. Granted, Elektra is going to fight with him because she's more familiar with the Yakuza, and she's not so familiar with the Hand. She's about as familiar with them as Matt is. They're going to learn more about it from Stick. We saw in season 1. He's also in the second trailer. He's going to explain to him.
Stick is such a badass.
He is a badass.
But fun fact though, the Hand, which is like the organization that Daredevil has to fight from the comics, being adapted to the TV show. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when it first was released as a comic book, was actually really heavily inspired by Daredevil, and the Foot is a parody version of the Hand. So
Daredevil and the Turtles were created in the same accident.
That's very true.
But yes, it is. You're right.
Yes. So whenever you see the Foot in Ninja Turtles, you're like, that was inspired by the Hand from Daredevil.
Yeah, and Stick works for an organization who's probably just as ancient, but good, called the Chaste. And in the comics, Daredevil and Elektra have both been part of it. And if you remember at the end of Stick's episode last season, he's talking to this huge dude. You don't see his face, but like with all these scars on his back. That's supposed to be, I believe, to be the leader of the Chaste, who's his name is Stone, I believe, who's a complete monster. Not literally, but so they're gonna have to be brought in to fight the Hand. It's kind of like Shield and Hydra, or Captain America and Hydra going against each other. Like they're that much of rivals against each other, or like Justice League and Legion of Doom. They're old massive rivals of each other, or enemies. Is the better way to put it.
Yeah, because rivals tend to have.
Yeah.
They tend to be friends.
Yeah.
So or at least respectful of each other.
Yeah. So enemies is the better term.
Yeah.
But,
enemies is definitely.
So while
true.
Elektra's goal is to fight the Yakuza, it's going to take more than her and Matt to defeat them. Ultimately, they're going to have to. They're going to have to bring in Punisher.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
that's how he's going to get involved. Especially once the Hand gets involved, they're going to need him.
You can't have that many. They're ninjas. It's a gang of ninjas. In season 1,
who have practiced mysticism, and Daredevil's a blind dude. Granted, he has crazy physical abilities. He doesn't have any powers.
If I were ever a director of an episode or like a writer on an episode, I would have like a scene where they kidnap Daredevil and they cast a spell to make him blind so he can never fight. And they're like, now you're blind, and he just starts kicking ass.
Yeah.
Like
as if that would stop him. Yeah, so it's gonna be huge. Some other things, to talk about in the trailer. They revamped the Daredevil suit compared to when they left it off at the end of season 1. And one of the things, speaking of him being blind, how he says he sees the world on fire, but in the new mask that they showed in the Elektra trailer, his eyes are glowing red, which is like a reference to him seeing the world on fire, which is cool. The new suit looks badass.
I think it looks better.
And
I know there's some people who are butthurt on the internet about it.
Well, they could fuck right off.
Yeah, I think it looks better.
It looks better, and it's more sensible than the Ben Affleck Daredevil costume. While I get people, it's straying from what it is in the comics, doesn't matter. They're making it work.
Yeah, it's a liberty I don't mind that they took.
Right, I agree. And then also in the trailers, the interactions between Punisher and Daredevil, especially the one line he says, "You're one bad day away from being me." That's going to weigh on Matt's mind heavily. And you could even see it because they bring back his Catholicism into it when he's speaking to the priest, saying he feels so guilty. Asking why he feels guilty, and that's because he's not done.
Yeah, and that's a response that I'm not really used to hearing. As far as usually like how come I still feel guilty? It's because, well, maybe you didn't do all the right things, or when you feel guilty, it's because you did something that may have not had the consequence you thought of.
Right.
But the priest answers differently, which kind of comes to mind of like the priest who, is saying, "Hey, like you're not finished." Like, kind of agreeing of what he's doing.
Yeah, the priest is well aware of what he does.
Yeah, absolutely, and that kind of that makes like that. That's why I really like the priest as a character, because like priests are stereotyped in movies as either being the worst type of monsters possible. Which, I mean, in Spotlight, that's accurate. They were.
Well, that's because that's based on real
That's
life.
based on real life. And yes, there are terrible priests out there who deserve the worst part of any type of punishment ever. Not going to get into detail about that. But like they're either portrayed as like monsters who prey on children, or like the second coming of like John the Baptist, and they exorcise a demon out of somebody. Like I like seeing priest characters in like television or movies that are just normal people, but are still like an important part. It's like, oh, like it's just not seeing a stereotype.
Right. And that's something Matt's going to have to battle with throughout the season, or, at least the Punisher arc, is, if he feels he's not doing enough, and that if he needs to adopt the Punisher's methods. And you can kind of see him contemplating it, briefly. Granted, it's just in the trailer, but you can tell at that point in the trailer he's contemplating going that next step because of all that's happening. And, the Punisher is fighting for different reasons. He is he's going after mobsters because his family was killed by mobsters. Right. So he's going to kill every single, mobster, gangster they can find. And technically, he's doing something good by eliminating criminals, but he's still murdering.
Yes.
And, that's what Matt has a problem with. But
and Matt's point of view, and for his argument that's detailed in the trailer, saying like, how many people are you going to kill in your crosshairs? Or he says something very similar to that.
What if some good people end up in his crosshairs?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. And thank you for saying that correctly. Because that's a really good point. Because like you're really like it. The question always comes up like, why doesn't Batman just kill the Joker?
Mm-hmm.
It would make perfect sense, and so many people would be saved. And like that's a great point that the Red Hood has.
Yeah.
And just people in general, like fans. But it's like I've never
Batman has killed before, but
well,
that's a different thing.
That's what Batman I'm talking about.
Yes.
And like that's also a very good comeback. It's like, well, hey, if you're just if you have the authority to kill people without having the answer to somebody, then like who is going to be in your crosshairs that's not there? And that actually happens. This is the shittiest movie ever. Punisher Warzone, that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
That movie is terrible. Don't watch it. But in the movie, like there is a part that is somewhat intelligent, as far as the Punisher comes in and just starts killing everybody.
Yeah.
But he accidentally kills an undercover cop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I've never really thought about that, and like there's never really been like a retort to that question. It seems like an obvious answer.
I do have a really good Batman one that he said. I forget what he says it in, but it might have been to the Red Hood. I don't remember if that was what it was in, but in whatever story it was, when asked why he doesn't kill him, he goes, "If I kill him, there's still the same amount of killers in the world because I killed him. Eliminating one killer still makes you a killer, so you're not you're not removing a killer from the world." And so, if Matt does that, it's kind of the same thing. And, granted, that's the problem, why people question Batman, why he doesn't kill the Joker, because Joker keeps on killing people. It's the same thing, and it's going to violate his moral compass, and it's going to change him as a person.
And it's like, and that's the thing,
and
like,
it's going to put
kill somebody that doesn't deserve it.
It's going to put him somewhere that he can't keep being Batman. Like, he can't keep being a hero if he were to kill the Joker.
Right.
It would change him in such a way.
It would make him become what he's been fighting.
Right. And the same thing would happen to Daredevil. And, it's not, they've both considered killing before. It's not something new. Like, every hero has.
Yeah.
And there's
no perfect
when they
hero.
have, yeah. It happens, but their main goal, aside from Punisher, is not to kill if they can prevent it. They don't want to kill somebody, but Matt starts regretting it or considering crossing that line because at one point he feels, or I don't think he said it, I think Karen Page said it, but like when talking about the Punisher, she goes, "Do you think that we created him by not stopping people or letting those things happen?" Meaning like all the killings that Kingpin's organization went through and all that. It's a good point. It's a really tough question. So I think Matt's really going to struggle with that, and that's going to, coincide with his Catholicism. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Catholic guilt, something that all Catholics have, and it's more heavily, I'm sure, in a guy trying to protect his city like that. So he's going to have a huge burden. And much like Batman, there's some pretty good comparisons between Daredevil and Batman.
Yeah, they're very similar in a lot of ways.
In these instances. So, yeah, that's going to be something other than, trying to stop Punisher that Matt has to deal with that arc. And then Elektra, who was actually referenced in season 1.
What episode would they reference her again?
It's when I forget what episode it is, but Foggy's talking about that Greek chick, his crazy ex-girlfriend.
Right.
And that was Elektra.
Yes.
She is an ex-girlfriend of Matt's and has been, throughout his and her history. Even if you saw the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, Elektra was, a love interest to him, and then that god-awful Elektra movie.
Yeah, how did that become a movie?
Because Ben Affleck and Jennifer Gardner started dating or whatever around then.
Yeah, but like Daredevil with Ben Affleck it made money, but it wasn't wildly successful.
I don't
was
know.
it?
No, I don't think so. But whoever was doing it at that time was like, oh, why not? And Jennifer Gardner was pretty big back then.
She still kind of is.
She was bigger back then than
yeah.
she is now.
It was right after because a lot of people don't remember, but she was in Pearl Harbor with Ben Affleck too. But she had a really minor role. She wasn't a huge actress. She was just starting to come around. Mm-hmm. I think like 13 going on 30 just became a huge success. So
anyway, going back to Elektra, she's an ex-girlfriend of Matt's. I don't know if they trained together at the same time. We'll see in
we'll
season.
see how they say it in this.
But they both trained under Stick in the Chase.
Yes.
And they're both just about equals in fighting. The thing is, Elektra has also been known to kill. She's an assassin.
Yeah.
More or less. And in the trailer, you see Matt. She asks for Matt's help to fight the Yakuza. He says, okay, but we do it my way with no killing. So he's going to have to not only prevent Punisher from killing, he's going to have to
it's a lot of pressure.
Stop Elektra from killing.
A lot of pressure.
Which she's going to do. And, she has her reasons because the Yakuza killed her father. At least in the comics, they'll probably go with the same way. Not to mention the Yakuza are terrible, terrible people.
Yeah, Yakuza, they had nothing to care about.
It's going to be a big overarching theme of the season. Should he cross that line? Is he going to be forced to cross that line at some point? Or can he save people and Hell's Kitchen continuing the way he's doing?
Yeah, and that's the thing too is this is why I'm really this is my final point of why I feel like season 2 is already so successful. Most TV shows, especially when it comes to the superhero genre, comic book movies, all that stuff is one of my favorite mediums to ever consume because I feel like it's one of the best ones out there because it tells fantastic stories that can only be told through these superpowered but super damaged emotional characters. But the one thing that people complain about, and it's a rightfully so complaint, is the predictability. I can't predict what's going to happen in Daredevil season 2. Right. Is he going to cross that line? Or is he not? Because the way that these trailers are brilliant. They don't give too much away, but they're 5 minutes long put together, but doesn't give too much away. And thank you, Marvel, for not being a DC on that at that fact. And then, but you're right. Especially everything you just brought up, it comes down to is killing going to be necessary in certain aspects?
Right.
And I don't know what he's going to choose, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Right. And, with how dark Daredevil season 1 was and Jessica Jones season 1, she ends up killing, spoiler alert, but whatever. And she has killed before. Granted, one of the times was under Kilgrave's control, but still. So it's possible that we could see him kill somebody because it would still fit into the style of the show. And you really don't know. Yeah, you just don't, and that's what's amazing, and that's what's exciting. It's it's hope that it's hey, when Captain. That's the thing. That's how I feel about Captain America: Civil War. I don't really know how that's gonna end because it's just so new, right?
And Comic book movies are coming a long way. I remember George Lucas and Steven Spielberg said a while ago that comic book movies will die like pretty soon, or
Yeah, well, they're
they like.
terribly wrong.
I think they're terribly wrong in that fact. I think it's getting better and better. Like when it comes to,
It's still relatively
it's
new.
not. It's still relatively new, and it's less and less being, hey, like their major villain does something to superhero gets mad, loses confidence, comes back, beats villain, and that's been the trope for but even with X-Men, which is a team movie, Spider-Man, and it's not a knock, but like that was the thing with superhero movies because that's what people expected. But with Captain America: Civil War, like we were our own villains, and like that was like, whoa, that's something so new, like way too new, but it worked so well, and like just the aspect of being unsure of what you have to do when it comes to Daredevil of like is he going to cross the line or not, and even with Batman vs Superman we knocked that movie a lot. I got to give it credit even though it looks like a by the numbers movie as far as when it comes to the heroes fighting. At least it's heroes fighting in a movie which we don't normally see, and then Batman's carrying a gun, so like he's
straight up his Batwing. He's got bullets in it.
It's a Frank Miller Batman.
Yeah, he's got a gun. The Batmobile has a gun, not a gun, guns. And you see him, he's causing a fuck ton of destruction. And it's actually kind of funny that this year we're having 2 movies with heroes fighting each other, with Batman v Superman and Civil War. Granted, Civil War has more heroes fighting each other, but Batman v Superman has DC's 2 biggest heroes ever,
right?
And 2 of the biggest heroes ever in history,
in comic book history. Batman and Superman, they're recognizable throughout the world.
Yeah, fighting each other. So
I would say Spider-Man is up there with them.
It's definitely Batman and Superman
are number 1 and 2,
and then probably Captain America, then Spider-Man.
I would say Spider-Man, and
more than Captain America.
More than Captain America. For me, I would say it's Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and then Iron Man, and then probably Captain America.
Really?
Only because of Robert Downey Jr. is a much more popular actor, and people know him more. Most people know Robert Downey Jr. If I said, "Hey, Mom," I showed her an Avengers poster.
I'm just talking name though.
I'm talking name, but exactly. But I'm saying Robert Downey Jr. I feel like has enhanced Iron Man's name. My mom, for someone like my mom, she knows who Robert Downey Jr. is. She likes his movies. She will watch a movie like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. Put it in because she's a fan. She may not be a fan of Iron Man, but now she at least knows who Iron Man is because of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like if there was a top 5 list, Iron Man would be known as would be probably one of the most well known.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's just it's funny. And then in Daredevil, while Punisher is basically classified as an anti-hero, he still most of the time serves as a hero.
Yes.
Not to mention, he was pretty big in Civil War in the comics too. I mean, he's been big in a lot of things, but he was pretty prevalent in Civil War.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, 99% chance that we're not going to see him in the movie. Same thing with Daredevil. But
no, we're not going to see him.
It's whatever.
But we get Spider-Man.
But we get Spider-Man, which is crucial.
There is a little. I don't know if it's true or not. Was it you that shared that meme of Spider-Man being Iron Man's reflection?
That was fake.
That was fake.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I thought it was fake when I looked at it, but there was a glimmer of hope that it was real.
No, it was fake because Robert Downey Jr. posted on his Facebook and made a joke about it. No, because Marvel's not legally allowed to show him in any promotional material right now.
Sony's. Oh my gosh.
Which is good because I don't want to see him. I want to see him in the movie.
I know, and but that's the thing though. Sony's incompetence when it comes to certain aspects of their entertainment, is actually kind of benefiting us, the people who want to wait, and benefiting the movie in general, because it is a surprise to wait to see what he really does look like. Mm-hmm. It could be the worst costume. It could be the best costume. They could be trolling us, telling us it's a Peter Parker, and it ends up being a Miles Morales.
That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy. Even though I am 99.9% sure that's not it at all.
No, they've already confirmed.
Yeah.
But getting back to Daredevil, it's another instance of hero versus hero, and Elektra again is primarily an anti-hero, but still, he's gonna have much more to deal with this season than he did last season.
Right. And
it's
also
going to be much more extreme.
let's not forget about Foggy and Kate, right? Karen. Foggy and Karen. Let's not forget Foggy and Karen. Like, I don't think their roles are going to be any less diminished in this season, especially with Foggy, who's like, you see it a lot. You see this character a lot in superhero movies, but it is necessary because no matter what you do in life, especially if you choose something that's dangerous, there's going to be someone out there that cares and wants you to stop because they don't want to see you get hurt anymore.
Yeah, he even flat out says it in, I think it's the second trailer. He goes, Matt says there's so much blood being shed. You know, there's something to that effect that he has to keep fighting. And Foggy straight up says, he goes, and you've shed enough for this city.
Yeah.
More, whatever.
But even though that is a character trait that is very common in superhero movies, what's still fresh and new about it, it's the best friend. It's not a love interest. It's someone he's just genuinely, like, very good friends with. That's like, hey, listen, like, this sucks. It's not a mom. It's not, and it's not a love interest.
Right. And up until now, that may change in season 2. Karen doesn't know he's Daredevil yet. Foggy does, but Karen doesn't.
I think that's the one thing.
And I think she's going to find it out.
Yeah, I'm projecting that in season 2 because I thought they were going to do it in season 1 towards the end, but they didn't. But it's like, dude, she like works for the both of them. Mm-hmm. She's going to find out.
Yeah, she's undoubtedly going to find out. And then you have Claire Temple coming back again, played by Rosario Dawson, who crossed over to Jessica Jones. Not for long, but was in a little bit.
That was towards the end of the season.
Yeah, yeah, she was in, I think, just one episode, and that was the Daredevil connection. I wonder what the connection is going to be from Daredevil to Jessica Jones to Daredevil. I wonder if she's going to inform Matt of this, superpowered girl that she met and this dude with, indestructible skin.
Yeah.
Or impenetrable skin.
That scene, I'm sorry, but when you say impenetrable skin, that scene where he introduces his superpower to Jessica Jones and he just takes the buzzsaw.
Oh, and turns it right on.
Right on him, and I'm like, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was badass.
Yeah.
So I wonder if she's going to bring that up to him or how he's going to find out about it. I'm curious to see what connections they bring between Jessica Jones, the Luke Cage series, Iron Fist. I don't expect anything from Iron Fist. I mean, they just cast the actor, but they could reference Danny Rand himself or the Iron Fist character. It's possible, although I don't think they will. But they could mention the source of his powers or like the town.
Yeah.
That he, grew, spent time in, and that led to him becoming Iron Fist. And then I wonder what connection they're going to have to the movie universe. I mean, it's probably going to they're going to have, I'm sure, some reference to Age of Ultron. I mean, they did in Jessica Jones, but, Jessica Jones also referenced the Inhumans on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then kept referencing the Battle of New York. And I wonder if they're going to, talk about some things that are going to happen in upcoming movies, particularly Captain America, since that comes out 2 months after.
Yeah.
Or a month and a half, whatever. But, yeah, I'm curious what connections they're going to do with it. I don't expect any of those other actors to show up. Like, I don't expect Kristen Ritter or Mike Coulter to show up.
I don't expect them either.
But they're definitely going to be acknowledged in some way, whether through Claire Temple or some other way. Although I would love to see either of those characters show up. I think it'd be cool. But I'm not expecting it to.
No, I feel like it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, we've gotten a lot of too good to be true moments come out of Marvel.
Very much
The Avengers is too good to be true.
Absolutely.
And it worked.
Absolutely.
So I don't also want to write it off.
It's possible, but I don't think it's likely because they already have Punisher and Elektra coming on, and those are huge names. And then another thing that I don't know what they're going to do with, I don't know if he's going to be on the show, but he's certainly going to have to be referenced as Kingpin. So when we last saw him, he's in jail.
I don't think he's going to be a big role in this season at all.
I don't think so at all, but he's still going to have some lasting effect into it.
Yeah. I see him coming back, like, when the series is about to end, him being like, I'm out and I'm back, like, this is it type of villain. But again, I don't know. I don't write for the show.
Yeah, he's still going to have...
Sorry, unfortunately, I don't write for the show.
I wish I could write as good as those people.
I know, right?
Yeah, he's gonna have some lasting effect for sure. Whether we actually see him or not, I don't. He won't have a major role. That's the Yakuza in the Hand, and then Punisher and Elektra arcs. Um, and I know you were talking about predictability with superhero movies in particular. The showrunners and executive producers of Daredevil season 2, because the showrunner of season 1 left, have said they're not adapting any one arc or any one mini story.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking a balance of a lot, which is good, which you need for 13 episodes. But it's good because it kind of makes it less predictable.
Right, and like again, I don't like perfect adaptations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to be faithful, but you also got to put your own spin on it.
Yeah, it's your imagination. Like that's why a lot of people that's why a lot of people may like the Game of Thrones TV show more than the books because it's somewhat new to them. I know there's certain things like my dad who did write. I'm not a huge fan of Game of Thrones at all, but my dad who read the books and saw all this episode so far says there's certain aspects that are better in the show because it actually goes into a little more visual detail of what's going on, and not to mention too, you actually see things in front of your eyes, which is still mind blowing when you really get down to it. But that's a different podcast for a different day.
Yeah, and like the same thing goes for Civil War. They're not doing a fully direct adaptation, but they're taking
the idea,
the same theme, some of the same heroes, and they're putting. Granted, they're also limited by character rights, but they're still putting their own spin on it to fit the current Marvel universe, and then what they're planning for afterwards.
And like I used to, the character rights used to really bother me. Like I'd be like, why can't Marvel just get everything? But it's like I feel like they're like how hard they worked with the restrictions that they have is almost like shows the type of product that came out.
Yeah,
it's weird. Like when you think of like musicians writing their greatest albums, it's usually something that was such a disaster going through or didn't have the necessary tools. Like you listen to Dude Ranch by Blink-182, the recording is nowhere near as good as their self-titled album or Neighborhoods, but for some reason the album is just so much better. And again, I love Neighborhoods and I love their self-titled album, but it's like there was just something there that like push it through. There was restrictions. They didn't have everything at hand, but they still worked like they had to work harder for it.
And they did a great job with what they had.
Exactly, and like that's how I feel like that's one of the
Plus,
reasons
with the MCU, if they had the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and or Spider-Man fully,
we wouldn't have gotten what we got.
The quality probably would have decreased.
Yes,
because it would be way too big. That's why it sucks you can't see certain characters interact between franchises and universes, but it's also a good thing because it just would be too huge of a universe to keep all those connections.
And like again, like for example, it's Johnny Storm and Spider-Man are really good friends in the comics. Spider-Man was almost a part of the Fantastic Four. A lot of people don't remember that, but when it comes to movie rights, Fox unfortunately has Fantastic Four, and now Sony and Marvel are joint with as far as doing films and adaptations of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So like we'll never see that friendship that's really prevalent in the comics, and like when Johnny Storm and Peter Parker are in the same room, it's like, oh my gosh, like how you been? You're not gonna get that feeling in the comics,
right?
And that for me that's a shame because my favorite part of Avengers: Age of Ultron is when they're at that party and like after the party when they're just hanging out.
Yeah,
I could have watched that for 2 hours. It was so much fun watching like all the superheroes interact as friends.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like that's like a relationship that those two characters have, and it's like it's unfortunate you're not going to see it on the big screen, but again, it's something that you kind of have to just take.
They just fix it with someone else. They apply it to it.
They apply it to someone else. Yeah. And it's
now
you get the relationship between Iron Man and Captain America, and it's done so well. Again, a great scene from Age of Ultron is when Tony Stark and Steve Rogers are having the conversation
out chopping wood,
and you get that really intense conversation
and
where
Cap just rips that block of wood in half.
And it's one of the few times you really get to see, because they're friends and they know each other, and there's also a certain line of respect. it's the first time Robert Downey Jr. or I'm sorry, Tony Stark is like, I'm not right, or I don't know if I'm right or not. And so like you can only get that between friends. If if Robert Downey Jr. or if Tony Stark didn't care
They're
about
the same person.
Yeah, I know. If Tony Stark didn't care about Captain America, he would have been like, well, he would have had a snarky comment like he did in Avengers 1. So I know I'm going on a rant right now, but I do that. Sorry. But yes, it's sad that you're going to miss some of those relationships, but for what we're getting, we shouldn't really be complaining.
Right. And like some good things have come out of it. And some good things have come out of Fox owning certain rights, like
Deadpool. Like Marvel Studios would never have done a Deadpool movie.
No, and for the most part, Fox has done well with the X-Men movies.
They've come back.
With the exception of X3 and X-Men Origins, the Wolverine is okay.
The ending sucks.
The ending sucks. It's much better than Origins by far, but like X-Men 1 and 2, and particularly like First Class and Days of Future Past, are fantastic.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Fox had Daredevil's rights, but whatever studio did and blew it, it ended up, it took a while, but ended up going back to Marvel, and look what happened.
Yep.
Maybe one day we'll see a Fantastic Four in Marvel down the line when they could fit it in better.
It's not going to be for a long time. I don't know how long Fox still has the rights for the Fantastic Four.
They have to use it within a certain amount of time. They have to make every few years. They have to make a franchise.
But here's the thing: they
So
never
have,
had a successful.
I know and they're gonna keep fucking it up probably. But at some point in the future, we'll see it. But they wouldn't fit into the current universe now anyway.
Right.
But to finish it off, the trailers for Daredevil are amazing. This season is going to be incredible.
Right.
Going to be just as great, if not better, than season 1.
I expect I have no problem saying this. I expect it being better than season 1.
Yeah.
Season 2's normally season 2 of TV shows are just better than season 2 of Parks and Rec blew season 1 of Parks and Rec out of the water.
Absolutely.
Season 2 of Breaking Bad is like a completely different show of season 1, and for the better. What else? Office season 2 is a lot better.
You can say that about nearly any show.
Nearly any show. It's season 2 is always the better one, and I get maybe that if there is some worry that it won't be as good, because it's rare that a season 1 show is as good as Daredevil.
Yeah,
like
a complete knockout from the start.
Exactly. Like season 1 of Daredevil is better than most season 2 of any great TV show. So, but again, like if someone can pull that off, like why can't they pull off make it a better season 2? And I truly believe that. I truly believe that season 2 is going to be better, and I expect it to be better.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to be very important going forward, because Daredevil, the success of Daredevil led, Jessica Jones, everything done about it was great, but boosted the success of Jessica Jones. And it's going to boost the success of Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and then the Defender series, which is ultimately what this is all leading up to. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the TV's Avengers.
Yeah, and
more or less.
But it's cool, and like what's so cool about saying the TV's Avengers is that like it's not a Happy Meal sized version. Like,
right.
Like a lot, like television now is at the point where, hey, like this is like a television version of like this great movie, but like. It's not as good, but it's kind of cool. Like no, like the Defenders on TV. It's like that's a serious thing to be excited for. Like
to have
it's not a mini Avengers
team ups.
Yeah,
like that.
Granted, the Avengers is much more popular. So the Defenders will probably never get to that level. But I like how they're treating it much more serious. Mm-hmm. They're treating it just as serious as they're treating it the Avengers.
Yeah,
and like it shows, the effort shows. I love it.
Yeah, undoubtedly, and it's going to lead to bigger and better things, and then we expect, and hopefully stays that way, that the members of the Defenders are going to be an Infinity War, and I really want to see that crossover between the TV shows and characters and the movie, the movie side.
There's no reason why
There's no reason they shouldn't. Granted, the Marvel TV and Marvel Studios are they're run separately. They're run by different people. They don't operate under the same umbrella, but they're still connected.
And there's no way they don't go out for lunch and they're like,
Yeah,
how
exactly.
cool would it be
It's not-
if Daredevil and Captain America were kicking ass next to each other?
Yeah, exactly. It's not,
They're nerds like we are. Like,
yeah,
they
they're
might-
not pulling a DC and completely separating them.
Yeah.
They're still connected, and they will intersect, and it's going to be good to see, and it's just going to lead to excellent things. And as comic book fans, I think we're being spoiled, and I love every second of it.
Right. Yeah. Same here, man. Like,
And there are people who aren't comic book. You can not be a comic book fan and still enjoy the fuck out of Daredevil and Jessica Jones.
most people I know that watch those shows don't really read the comics. And
Yeah.
granted, like it's been it's been a little while since I picked up a comic book.
They work on more than just being based off
Yeah.
comic books. They hit on every dramatic level you can. They have crazy action. They get really deep. There's some funny moments. Granted, Daredevil and Jessica Jones are very, very dark.
there is still light moments.
Yeah, there's still light moments. There's great characters, great stories. You can get really invested into it without having any background knowledge. People do the same thing with movies too. Like, you don't have a lot of people don't read the comics and then still enjoy the hell out of the movies.
Well, yeah, it goes for anything. Most people most people didn't read the Lord of the Rings before.
Yeah, most people don't read the books and then see the movies. But it's kind of has more. Daredevil and Jessica Jones have more of an appeal, I guess, than the movie, or more wide appeal, because of those those qualities and the fact that it's a series and there's 13 episodes.
And also, yeah, it gives people the opportunity to maybe know something that they didn't. And as far as when it comes to, I guess, like a complaint that actually you hear people say with comic book movies is like, I don't really know that character.
Yeah.
And like that was the thing about Ant-Man. Like that was the worry. That again, another Marvel gamble that paid off extremely well.
It was smart of them to push it back.
Yeah, it really was. And it's like, well, I don't really know Ant-Man. But with TV shows, people know what they expect. They expect a lot of backstory when it comes to TV shows because
they have 13 hours to do that compared to
and so
to a little more than 2.
It's one of the few instances where investing more of that person's time is actually beneficial to the story. You don't have to give a quick background story in less than a half hour and have it raise a lot of questions of certain areas.
And that's one of the benefits of the TV series versus the movies.
Right.
Is they have that, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has 23 hours to do it. Flash, Arrow, Supergirl all have 23 hours to do it. And then Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and it will be the same for the upcoming series, have 13 hours to do it. So it's easier to get invested into it, and it's easy. You'll learn more along the way without being completely out of the loop. And that's one of the benefits of TV, the TV side of it. But yeah, I truly think we're spoiled, and I am just fucking. I'm more excited for Daredevil than I am for Batman v Superman. To be honest,
Batman v Superman, it was up really high for me, and like now I'm more excited for Suicide Squad than I am for Batman v Superman.
Yeah,
I think that's good because I think when I see Batman v Superman, I'm not going to be so like, oh man, I came in with such high expectations. Hopefully, the lower expectations will help me enjoy the movie more.
I want to enjoy it.
Yeah, I really do want to enjoy it too. At this point, I know this is supposed to be a Daredevil centric episode, so let's just try to finish off on this because I don't think there's anything more we could say about Daredevil, unless you have something. Batman vs Superman it's unfortunate that I have to go in with low expectations to enjoy the movie, but then I'm hoping I leave saying I didn't even have to go in with low expectations.
Right. I'm almost as excited for Daredevil Season 2 as I am for Civil War. I'm more excited for Civil War, but not by a whole lot.
No, yeah, I'm more excited for Civil War just because because Spider-Man's in it. Honestly,
yeah,
because
of how good like Winter Soldier was.
Yes,
it adds to it. But I'm literally like it's so close for how excited I am for Daredevil 2 compared to.
Yeah, all this stuff is like right around the corner. We're recording this the 28th.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. March is literally in 2 days, and
it's like 3 weeks away right now.
That's pretty
for Daredevil.
for Daredevil, and then 2
4
months away for
4 for Batman v Superman, or almost exactly a month, and then like a month,
isn't
month and a half.
Civil War is in
Civil
May.
War is early May.
So it's
so
it's
like
like
2
2
months.
months.
And then later that month is X-Men Apocalypse, and then a couple months later Suicide Squad, then a couple months later Doctor Strange, apparently Gambit, but I guarantee that's going to be pushed back because they're not starting production
Gambit's
until March.
never going to be made.
Yeah,
And I honestly don't even want it to be made. I don't that like, dude, Gambit like at any comic book character again, and I shouldn't be saying that because Ant-Man is. You can feel the same way about Ant-Man, but at the same time, like Marvel Studios has been much more successful than Fox, and I know Deadpool is wildly successful. But that's only because of the team. The team behind Deadpool had to convince the studio that this is a good idea.
Yeah.
The studio didn't
spent 11 years
Yeah.
trying to get it.
The studio wasn't like, hey, this is a good idea. The studio said, hey, a Gambit movie is a great idea. Really? Gambit, who's honestly like one of the weakest X-Men characters, not power-wise, but like character-wise, in my opinion. Like I know a lot of people love Gambit out there, but dude, in all honesty, Gambit's not that cool. He's really not, and that's just how I feel. That's my opinion. If I'm sure there's someone if that's someone's favorite mutant, God bless you.
Yeah.
That doesn't make your opinion any less. I just don't really like him. He just kind of sucks. And in Contest of Champions 2, the comic, Gambit beats Wolverine.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. His power is not that cool. Like,
and then after Doctor Strange, we got Luke Cage, which will be later this year. There's no like set date for that, but expected around what Jessica Jones was beginning of November or like mid-November, whatever.
Yeah, it was like mid-November.
Expected around the same time because Netflix is really consistent in releasing their original shows in like the same month or 2 month span as they did the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And like same thing goes with House of Cards. House of Cards is premiering like a week later than last year. Orange is the New Black is a couple weeks earlier.
Dude, I want
all
Orange is the New
roughly-
Black and Jessica Jones crossover.
That'd be nuts. So yeah, so we will finish. I know we never finished our Daredevil recaps for season 1. We'll finish that by the time season 2 comes out.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually starting to rewatch Daredevil again, so
Like-
it gives me another reason just to watch the show,
Yeah.
the episodes.
Yeah, so look out for that. Just get fucking amped for this season. If you guys have any questions or thoughts or anything, theories, let us know.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. At Less Than Connor.
Rick Pat Mick.
Yeah, so I mean, like, just literally.
And Connor said he's going to start an Awesome Sunday Show Twitter. Still remains to be seen.
No, I'm sorry. I know.
But,
Pat, my deadline is by next Sunday. I will have that Twitter account ready to roll.
Okay.
It's going to be within the week, and I'm saying that right now on the podcast, so I have to do it, and I have to manage it. And this gives.
Otherwise, he's a piece of shit.
Oh yeah. Otherwise, I lied on the show, so I can't have that.
And then he's going to be replaced with Damien, which nobody wants.
Yeah, you'll lose. You'll go down from you. We have 16 subscribers now, so we'll go down from 16 to 8 if you do Damien.
Maybe even less. Yeah, so keep a lookout for that. Check out Connor's movie review channel, the Couch Review.
Which I was supposed to have the Goonies review up earlier this week, but my Videocraft software, I figured out the issue why I can't import videos, because you can't import videos more than 5 minutes long. You have to take the videos in the app. So I want to apologize about that. The Goonies review will be up by at least Tuesday, and then I'll have another poll for another retro review and have more movie reviews too.
Yeah, and then especially with the comic book movies coming out, expect those.
Yeah, Pat is probably going to be on a lot of those too. I want to start having more than at least 2 people. Like we can have like the cool thing about the Couch Review is that we're not limited by the mics.
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't have to be just 3 people. Like if we go with a group of friends, we could all just be on that show. You know,
Certain people.
Like, hey, can I be on the show too? Actually, can you get behind the camera and see how we're doing?
Yeah, so look out for all that stuff. Like, share, comment, subscribe, put it on blast. download it on iTunes. Even if you don't want to listen to it, just fucking download it.
Yeah, just help us out.
Just download it, share it, do it for
I
friendship.
really want to get paid for doing this, like in the worst way.
Yeah, and like if we get decent size, we get sponsors, we'll try to get you some free shit, whatever.
Like imagine like if you're a fan of the show and like you really help us out, like imagine getting like a T-shirt.
Yeah,
Like dude, I want to be at the point where we can sell T-shirts.
But just imagine, hey, my friends have a pretty popular podcast. How fucking cool is that?
Shouldn't we just make T-shirts for ourselves and walk around with them? Like give them to our friends?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think we should do that. That's a good way of advertising.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like part of the podcast like we shouldn't be recording.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Nobody's listening this far anyway. They already signed off after we said like, share, comment, subscribe if they
So
made it
I
this
could
far.
say how much Gambit still sucks and no one would probably listen.
Probably not. You can say anything right now. Like you can say how much you hate.
You know what I don't dislike Gambit the most is in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. He sucks in that game so bad. Just like he sucks in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
The movie.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.